that's the same thing I feel every time I try to roll for a 5-star servant. Continuing right from where we left off last week with that rather intense cliffhanger, Uta had already fully recovered. Makes sense. It was just a cold, and I'm sure this episode won't rush through any other conflicts.
Are you sure about that?
That said, she was still, understandably, a little disappointed that Prudence still couldn't remember everything. But, hey look, cake! I'm sure that'll fix up everything. Hell, why don't you take a picture of it and put it on Crap. Yeah, Nana and Kokoro understandably decide to give their leader some space, as well as maybe help out in their own way. We need to tell them that we need more screen time. Now, of course, they decide to talk things out with Prune and Marilyn, who are still Livia Tanaka's. At least they gave ownership of the house back to him, and were just now freeloading, which is an improvement over squatting at least. Anyway, Prune was still struggling with the feeling that she had forgotten something important, which in turn made Marilyn sad, as she couldn't really do anything for her, as the deal with the lock was seemingly absolute. She would end up relaying this to Kokoro and Nana. In other words, a Deus Ex Machina, which we don't see in this franchise of... Okay, maybe not all the time at least, and surely not this time, right? Still, she wanted to do her part, both to help Prune, as well as maybe even defeat the Gojuger while she was at it. We then cut back to Uta, who I guess spent the rest of the day just looking through Prune's camera whilst leaving the cakes out, which, yeah, you should probably throw those into the fridge before they go bad. That aside, I gotta say, we got easily one of the most emotionally poignant moments of the show so far, with our lead inevitably breaking down over the fact that her close friend was pretty much gone. Sure, there was a fairy who looked and sounded like Prune, but without the memory, she may as well have been a completely different person. From her perspective, Prune sacrificed herself just to save them from Cuddy because she couldn't get the job done. Nothing was really said to us, just told through Uta's breakdown as she watched what was essentially Prune's final farewell to her. A very powerful scene that I think a lot of the credit for it should go to the writer this week. Which, yeah, by the way, a little correction from last week. Yeah, as it turned out, the writer of episode 20 wasn't Yuriko Ayana. It was Hiroko Kanasugi, who's best known for writing both seasons of Miyuki Dreamy. My mistake, though I swear I saw somewhere that Yuriko wrote that episode. Not to mention, it was kind of hard to believe that they'd suddenly bring in a new writer once we reach the 20s. What's next? They're gonna bring in the head writer of Code Geass or something, and I gotta learn when to shut up. Yes, this episode was written by Ichiro Okochi, the other half of Code Geass's head writers, alongside Hiroyuki Yoshino, who we brought up previously on this channel with Tropical Rouge, and who's also doing the upcoming movie. Now, arguably, he was the more significant half of that writing duo, though in that case we can also blame him for all of those unnecessary sequels, but I digress. While the guy does have a bit of a mixed bag of series when it comes to his mech anime, I do generally really like his writing, as he even head wrote a couple of my childhood favorites like Azumanga Daioh and Angelic Lair. Going to more recent series, he did the 3rd season of Spy Family and its accompanying Cold White film. So he does really know his stuff when it comes to slice of life anime with some strong action elements like Precure. No, and he also head wrote Gundam Witch from Mercury, which might be relevant to this series, though totally not because these two are lesbians or anything, at least according to Bandai Namco. Yeah, that's totally not the case. Also, he head wrote Princess Principal. Point is that he does do emotional scenes very well, even in shows that I don't really care for, be it between characters of the opposite or same sex. We approve of all in these parts. Meanwhile, at the bar of the understaffed evil, Zachary and Chokine were playing a game of Russian roulette with wine and... Lady, you just put it in Tabasco. It's like the McDonald's of hot sauces. Perfectly fine, but you could do much better. Zachary seemingly lost, but as it turned out, all of the wines had hot sauce. But hey, look on the bright side, dude. You were able to get boozed up at your job. That's at least one benefit from this sweatshop. Back with Uta, her fever had gone down enough that she could go to school, but she was still suffering from a different sickness that led her to literally spill some milk. Of course, her dad said it was no big deal, even though to me, spilled milk is always such a pain to clean up. Still, his words about not worrying about making mistakes and growing from them seemingly really cheered Uta up, which kind of confused me at first, as I couldn't really connect it back to the whole problem with Prune, though thankfully we would get some clarification, though not before some blatant product placement. Meron, when they offered you a free sample, you were only supposed to take one. Also, you have to make an unboxing video. Anyway, to cheer her up, she encouraged Prune to try and draw the lucky miracle card, which, I don't think feels complete unless she draws the magical card too. But yeah, according to her, it would help Prune get back her memories, which shouldn't she be against, as wouldn't that cancel out the wish? Unless that's just been our assumption this whole time, but that can't be the case, right? Right? Hilarious enough, Prune did get the card from her first pack, but was interrupted when Uta stopped by. As it turned out, the thing she actually took away from her dad's spilled milk talk was about how people will always learn new things, or in other words, create new memories every day. Yeah, in a really nice moment, Uta resolved that even if Prune was gone, they could always make new memories with this version of her. It's a nice way to conclude this arc for now. I mean, eventually Prune will get her memories back, but that still should be a ways away. I mean, if they were to do it right now, it would kind of ruin this powerful little scene. Anyway, in actually really interesting twist and shakeup of the formula, Zachary decided to use Prune as a victim of the week, which, yeah, is actually kind of brilliant on his part, as not only did it remove a potential buffer for the cures, but at least as far as he knew, it would neutralize one of their stronger members, though as it turned out, it was 2 members, as the 6 Rangers transformation ran on Futari rules. The resulting monster was, of course, an evil miracle light, which almost feels like a redundant statement, but yeah, since it was made from a particularly powerful crystal, it was able to disarm Uta with some really good animation. Yeah, worth mentioning that one of the animation directors this week was one of Toei's animation GOAT, Akira Inagami, who we've talked about more than once on this channel. Anyway, after it managed to crystallize Meron, all hope seemed lost, until Uta started to sing her signature song to wake up Prune, which, okay, maybe it'll wake up some of her memories, enough that she can break free and join the fight in. No. Oh, come on! Y'all had a good thing going there! Yep, right after Uta resolved to make new memories with Prune, she just got back all of her old ones after one song from Uta. And even though that really should have just have cancelled out the wish, the fairies were still able to transform because they still gotta sell those new toys, am I right? And if that wasn't disappointing enough, in spite of bringing in Inagami, we didn't really get a fight this week, as without its catalyst, Zukyun Kiss were able to immediately take out the monster with their finisher. Strangely enough, didn't leave behind a ribbon and instead just dropped Prune's Miracle Light, which just makes me wonder, why was it supposed to be stronger if it didn't have that in the crystal? But really, whatever, Prune was back. Yeah, that just would have been the more interesting and poignant storyline, but oh well, am I right? Oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this, including in regards to Milk, I mean Meron, as the episode ended with her declaring that the original trio were rivals to Zukyun Kiss.
That's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being stupid!
This episode has me split. Okay, not so much split as much as I wish I could like it more. On the one hand, the animation took a serious step up this week thanks to Inagami, and Okuchi is already showing a lot of potential for writing for this franchise. And yet, their great contributions were kind of drowned out when the show's story direction decided to take some of the most boring routes possible. As we said last week, I was fully expecting Prune to get her memories back eventually, but not the following week. Maybe a little closer to the finale, or when they would inevitably need another upgrade of some sort. I especially wasn't expecting them to do it after that great scene of Uta accepting that the prune that she knew was gone, and that she could respect her sacrifice by making new memories with this version of her. That was just a great display of character for her, as well as a powerful message about respecting the wishes of others, and yet likely by the demands of maybe some producers feeling that Prune nobly sacrificing her own happiness for the safety of her friends might seem too sad for some parental watch groups. They just gave them back to her already. Like seriously, this feels like they want to do more with the storyline, but were cut short, which unfortunately seems to be a bit of a pattern with Code Geass writers. On that note, it is a pity because Ichiro Okochi was able to write some very strong scenes, and even without a real fight this week, the animation by Akira Inagami really highlighted Uta's emotional struggles. Stuff like that has already put Uta in the upper tiers of some of my favorite leads of this franchise. In contrast, Meron is legit kind of annoying me now. Like, I didn't think she was bad for isolating Prune off from her friends, as seemingly she was trying to preserve her wish and her ability to become a Precure, but no, Prune could still turn to Zikun with no problem, meaning that there was no real reason to isolate her, and yet she continues to separate her from the rest of the group out of a paid jealousy, ignoring the fact that their kingdom is trapped in crystals, so they should be working together! Unless Meron sacrificed something like her kindness or just common sense, this does not make her look good. Now, to be fair, that actually might be the case, and maybe there will be some sort of fallout from Prune getting her memories back already, but I'm not seeing that in the preview so far. Thus, for now, overall, this was actually a great episode for Uta, in which she really managed to establish herself as a strong lead for the series, but unless they're planning some further developments with this plot, I think they really dropped the ball with this whole Six Ranger arc. Because when it comes to all of that build-up and sadness of Prune sacrificing her memories,
What's the point?
thanks for watching, and if you want to avoid some hot sauce in your wine, well, I think our videos can help you with that, somehow. I mean, at the very least, they could act as a good distraction, as we've got one coming out almost every day, with Fridays now being when we kind of experiment with different shorts. Look forward to Princession Orchestra. Until then, though, for now, my friends, and if you excuse me, I'm going to put these two back on the shelf, together, of course. Not you're in my ass.